Are you ready? Are you ready? Clap, clap. This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and I'll be glad. I'm pressing on to higher things, to my heritage in Christ, to my heritage in Christ. I'm a run, hey! I'm a run, running with Jesus. I'm a run, running with Jesus. I'm a run, running with Jesus. Nothing can stop my praise. Nothing can stop my praise. I have this.
My confidence in Christ.
I walk in perfect liberty.
I walk in perfect liberty.
No weapon.
No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
I live above.
I live above and not beneath.
I live above and not beneath.
I live above and not beneath.
I'm running.
I'm running,
I'm
Why is this God, why would you do this? Why is this happening to me? God, where are
This is just terrible news. What am I gonna do?
I can't take this.
Everyone's getting pregnant but me. I feel so alone. How am I gonna fight this diagnosis? God, where are you? I can't believe he put his hands on me. God, do you still love me? Why is this? I can't take this anymore.
I can't
Do this anymore. I trusted you. God, help me. Please don't leave me.
Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Lift your head up. Keep on going.
Keep going.
Take one step at a time. Just one foot in front of the other. You can always trust the one who knows the end from the beginning. You've got this.
Keep going. Keep going.
The race is on!
You've got this.
You can do it.
You're almost there.
You can run the race. Run the race.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm so glad that you are here for the Run the Race Wellness Conference. We're here to talk about God's place in our struggles and so much more with testimonies, lessons, giveaways, and an overall great time in the Lord. Before we get into it, let's start with a word of prayer. Dear Father, thank you for being such a good God. Thank you. Even in times of hardship, you show us yourself and you show us to be grateful for the opportunity to be together and to hear what your speakers have for us, Lord. I pray that you individually touch each individual here today. Place your hands on them, Lord. Be with them through the tough times and help them to know that you are always with them. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Now there are a couple of rules that we need to get through first before I share a couple of announcements with you. The rules are as follows. Share the stream with everybody. Yes, we want you, all the registrants, all the people who've registered, so that we can inform you of the events, of initiatives that are happening in the future. And also because this conference cannot be missed. So quickly take a moment, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family, reach out to your neighbor right now. We need everybody to know about this conference. Please interact with us. Don't just sit there. We want to see your faces, show your face, let the speaker know you're there. Write a chat in the chat box. We are looking and we're going to have our eyes peeled for our very special participant who's been engaged the most throughout this conference. So make sure you're reflected properly. This is a very special event. Although it's virtual, we want you to feel like you're part of a greater community. So please make sure that you take a photo using our virtual photo booth, post it on your social media, put the hashtag #RunTheRace31. Feel free to use that and also share your experience with the same hashtag. Now we have a couple of announcements. How many of you checked out the event dashboard? In case you didn't know, we have a very special space that houses all of the pertinent information about the conference and gives you access to all of the things I'm about to mention. So do not get overwhelmed. Once the session is over, hop on over to the dashboard and take it all in. In the dashboard, you'll see your event workbook. Yes, there's a workbook because it's our goal to grow and not just be attendees. If you prefer a paper notebook, feel free to print it out and take your notes that way. And if you're into the digital thing, feel free to save some trees and engage digitally. Along with note-taking space, a workbook is filled with great resources and tools for you to use during your challenging times. And it also gives you an opportunity to get a closer look at all of our amazing sponsors who helped make this event possible. You'll see more about their businesses during each session, so stay tuned. During this conference, we are releasing our exclusive apparel line, specific to our Run the Race conference. Strengthen your mind and stay encouraged by purchasing a t-shirt, 2, 3, 4, give it to your family for Christmas. This month, we are also excited to partner with Abby's House. As you know, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we are purchasing self-care items for women who have found themselves in unfortunate circumstances, and some have even encountered domestic violence. Along with their children, they need to be encouraged. And so we want to provide soap, towel, toiletries, shampoo, amazing things that are all on our Amazon wish list. So please take the time to check it out, purchase something, share with your neighbors, share with your friends. But remember, the last day to purchase will be October 26th. And Giving Tuesday is coming up right after Thanksgiving. And we are depending on your contributions to help push the organization forward. As we spread Christ throughout our communities, all of your contributions are tax deductible and are greatly appreciated. If you feel led to give during this session, please do so by using the link on your screen or visit the event dashboard. Who doesn't love good food and impactful conversations? If you're that person, which I think it's all of you, join us on December 14th for Bible and Brunch. It's a great opportunity to grow together in our faith, to spend time with women, and please don't forget to purchase your ticket. The link is on your screen. And finally, please send in your prayer requests. We are an organization of praying individuals, and we want to support you with prayer and support each other in community. And so on your event dashboard, you're also able to invite people to pray. You're also to list your prayer requests so that we can pray for everybody. And there'll be time after the speaker for a short Q&A portion. So grab your workbooks, put away all your distractions, and it's time to get into the word. And I'll see you after the session.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia, and I had the privilege of interviewing Nana today. So I did want to put a full disclaimer out there that this session is pre-recorded. We did that because Nana is located in Ghana, West Africa, and sometimes the internet can get a little spotty. And so you will see in this stream that there are a few moments where her video freezes a little bit, or there's a little bit of a delay in the sound. Just note that that is not an issue on your end. It is an issue from the recording itself. So we did our best to edit everything to make sure that it's as seamless as possible. So just take note of that. Feel free to engage. Feel free to ask your questions. If she's not able to answer them live as we are watching, we will give her those questions so that she can give a response, and we'll get those answers to you as quickly as we can. So please be patient with us, be patient with the stream. Again, the issue is not on your end, it is just the recording. And so get your workbooks out. Our sister drops a lot of amazing gems. You do not want to miss it. It is just as impactful. So please pay attention, be engaged, and get the most out of this session. Okay. So enjoy yourselves and um, have fun. Bye.
Hello. How are you, sis? We're so happy to have you. Um,
Hey, Cynthia.
we're just going to get right into it. So, what do you do? Tell me a bit about yourself, or tell the audience a bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got to this place.
Okay, this question is always so intriguing to me because for as long as I can remember, I've been who I am and what I do today, but I guess it's just progressed over the years. As everybody may know, my name is Nana Bokia Owusu-Sekyere. I am a wife, a Christian, devoted wife, and mother of three kids at the moment. I have two girls and a boy. And basically, I ran a wellness company called Holy Ever After Limited. But at the moment, we kind of only specialize in making probiotic foods. And so I'm sure one would ask, why did I choose probiotic foods? Because essentially, when I got into the wellness space, I quickly realized that your gut is literally like the center of your wellness or unwellness, for lack of a better word. And so once you're able to heal your gut, you are literally, I would say, a good 70% on the right path. And so that's why we decided to go with probiotics. And then the advice, the consultations, all of those things, they come later. But essentially, people have to understand the role that their guts play in their health to be able to start the journey to begin with. And so that's why I do what I do.
Thank you. So, um, can you just explain just a little bit about the gut, just so people have a better understanding? I know they say the gut is your second brain.
Yes.
So, can you just explain a little bit about that before we continue?
So I always say, like in a layman's terms, your gut is literally like the government of your body, so to speak, in the sense that it's literally like the central processing unit that determines how your body functions, how well your body functions. And the more research is being done, the more we are learning how crucial your gut health is. So if you think about the fact that like your gut is the engine that runs your body, everything that's going in, be it the things you're watching, what you're exposing yourself to, emotions, the food you're eating, the energy you're feeling around yourself, they all contribute to gut health. And so I always like to use that scenario because I think it makes it communicates how critical your gut is to your overall lifestyle, but also kind of like keeps it simple. So I'm not bombarding you with your body is made of billions of bacteria and all of those scientific terms. So in a nutshell, that's basically what your gut is, just like the central processing unit of your system. And so when you nurture it, it serves you right, and when you don't, you kind of feel it with
Yeah.
symptoms in your body. So whenever they say health and wellness, okay, I'm a nutritional therapist. And for us, we are always looking to address issues from the symptoms. So, for example, you just got a migraine, a doctor may just prescribe a pain relief medicine to you, but sometimes it could be something else. And so for us, we're always digging down to something like I'd ask a question. What was the last thing you ate? Have you eaten something different from your diet? Have you not been sleeping well? Have you felt stressed lately? All of those things contribute, and it's all part of your gut health. So again, I can't overemphasize how critical and crucial your gut health to your overall well-being. And I hope it kind of made sense when I used the CPU um,
Yeah,
explanation.
it makes a lot of sense. Can you talk a little bit more about Holy Ever After and what you guys do and maybe the different branches that you guys operate in?
So it's so funny. I can't even remember what my name on Instagram was, but I think this was back in 2015 when I had left home here in Ghana to pursue my education in Boston. Just me, literally went apartment hunting, everything by myself. And so I was vegan at the time. I was vegan for 4 years. I started in 2013. So as of the time I had moved to Boston, I was still fully vegan. And I know we'll come to that later on in our conversation, but I think that was like the engine that just got me really started on my health and wellness journey because I think at the time I was just following this lady who was vegan. I just found it intriguing. So I just announced my whole family like 6 months into 2012 that at the end of the year, like beginning of next year, I'm going vegan. And I just quit eating meat cold turkey.
Wow.
And that was just how I went vegan. So I was in Boston trying different vegan meals. Obviously, I had more access to foods in the States than I did in Ghana at the time.
Right.
I was also making my own money because I had started working, and so I had to be budget friendly for myself. So it was just a matter of being creative with healthy food. So at this point, I'm not under the surveillance of my parents anymore. Obviously, they took care of me for a while, but I think at some point they kind of figured if you're all over there, you have to take care of yourself. So I got an on campus job. And so I was just, sharing basically how I was navigating life alone as a vegan and as a young lady as well. And so I think I was just praying about it because I would always get messages from people. At the time, Instagram wasn't that big. I think it was Snapchat
Yeah.
and Instagram, if I remember correctly. And so people would just be like, "Oh, recipe. Oh, how did you make this? Can you share this with us?" And all of that. And so I literally went to God praying and asked Him, "Give me a name that can represent what I've started doing." Because I started it, I didn't start it as a joke, but at the same time, I was just documenting my life. Nothing was staged, but I just wanted a name that represented what I was doing and the journey that I was on because it wasn't also just a fad diet for me. It was something that I had committed myself to 2 years in at this time. So I can't, I know we're Christians, so it's easy for you to understand. Holy Ever After just came to me by the Spirit,
Yeah.
and that was it. That was how the name came about. I didn't work for it. I didn't, it just came to me by God. And then we just continued our journey of sharing meals. I had subscribed to lots and lots of blogs at the time, just recipes. And then I think I just learned from there. Obviously, when you go vegan, you are so much into it. You need vegan meats, vegan pastries, vegan this and that. But slowly, just the more I read and the more I learned, the more I understood I didn't need that because that's just kind of counterintuitive. If you're vegan to be healthy, and I'm looking to do the very things that are making
Yeah.
me unhealthy, but in a vegan way, it doesn't necessarily make it healthy. So, Holy Ever After basically me, Holy Ever After basically sets herself on a path to kind of change the narrative of the fact that just focus on real food and not necessarily be everything that everybody's being but vegan. So I did a Whole 30 diet. And then after that, I did a vegan one twice. And then on my third one, I tried the paleo. So I liked the paleo, and then I transitioned to a paleo diet. And then after that, I was like, I think I'm good. I can just. So I was predominantly paleo for a while. And then I think at this point, I had just discovered my food freedom enough to know what was good for me and what wasn't. And so I just took up all titles and just decided to continue sharing my journey as Holy Ever After and just how I was incorporating real food into my diet. And then we took it from there. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. The next question would be how did you get started with kombucha in Ghana? And what was the inspiration
Oh,
behind that?
yes. So with kombucha, I was brewing kombucha back in Boston, but before I left to Boston, my sister, my oldest sister, actually introduced kombucha to us. She literally brought like the mother Scoby. And so when I left, I decided to try to make my own. And mind you, I had really bad acne. I had really bad period pains. And so, because I had a lot of time on my hands living alone, I did some research into what kombucha does. And I realized that it even helps with like women's hormonal health. And it helps people with period pains. And that was an area in my life that I was truly struggling with. So I started brewing kombucha by myself in addition to water kefir as well. So at the time, I was making kombucha and water kefir, and then I did notice a difference in my skin, one, and definitely in my period pains whenever my period came around. But I didn't put two and two together to assume that that was it. And so obviously, I also didn't want to put kombucha out there to be like a magic potion that you have to drink. But obviously, those were the first steps that I had started taking towards my gut health. And mind you, it was around the same time that I had decided to um, do the whole 30 diet as well as both vegan and paleo. So my diet had become really clean. I had cut out trigger foods essentially. And so when I realized that I was feeling better, at this point I was like, no, we have to continue. So it's just something I always brewed kombucha while I was in Boston. Always, I just always had it. Again, it was just me. It was much easier then. So when I moved back home, um, my mother was like, you need to start this because already she was also aware that my followers were kind of interested in what I was making and how I was going to transition now that I'm in Ghana and make it
Oh,
more
wow.
realistic and all. So she gave me the idea that why don't I make the kombucha and tell people to bring their bottles. So you fill it for them and then they pick it up. So we did a bring your own bottle kombucha process. But also it was not realistic because if you know Accra, Ghana, people live all over the place. And so if they have to just drop off their bottles and then pay for delivery again, that was double the cost. So the bring your own bottle strategy was not really working in terms of financially for both sides of the party. And so then my mother gave me seed funding to just order my first set of glass bottles because glass bottles were very, very important to me. And so she got the bottles for me. My husband and I, we got someone to design the label by ourselves. And then we just, honestly, I would brew in small jars. I think we did three flavors at the time in the beginning: hibiscus, ginger, pineapple, and apple. And slowly we first signed up for a farmer's market. And then, because I assumed, which is a good assumption, those places are places we have a lot of expats who kind of know what we are talking about because it was totally new to the Ghanaian environment, totally new. So once that gained the traction, I kind of, we sold out. And so I was very encouraged to keep it going. And then we got our first fermenter, which was like Christmas. I still remember, I have a picture of myself standing next to my fermenter. And then slowly we built up from there. And, the rest they say is history, but it's not been an easy journey introducing a new product to a completely new environment. I think 10% newer kombucha was, and the rest of the 90 we had to organically educate as to what it is. But, I mean, once something is made and made well, it speaks for itself by the grace of God. And so once people started reaping the benefits, that's just how we picked up as a business. Um, I do also have to say that COVID kind of helped us a lot because, you know, it was during that time that people kind of understood what it meant to boost their immune system.
Yeah.
And so, which is something we had been hammering since we started the business. So once everybody had, oh, boost immune system, it was like, yeah, 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 I need that, I need that.
Yeah.
And then people just got into the vision. And then here we are now.
That's good. So, what would you say was the number one um, key selling point or piece of education that helped convert Ghanaians to kombucha?
Definitely once they learned, I just said it, like, I think it's definitely them understanding how a robust immune system can help you recover quickly thanks to COVID.
Hmm.
That was definitely one thing because at the time everybody was trying any and everything just to stay safe.
Those WhatsApp messages.
It's not even right. And you already know those WhatsApp messages were getting. I mean, you could never tell. Like it felt like everything was going to kill you.
Yeah.
So I think it was half desperation, half just. I know it's not supposed to be funny, but those were crazy times.
Very,
So I
very.
think that, listen, especially for the older generation,
Hmm.
immune system was like the key phrase that just got everyone. Oh, if it will boost my immune system, then I need that. Then I need that. Then
Yeah.
I need that. So, yeah, I think that that was like the key selling point. But for people like within like millennial age group, I
Yeah.
think most of our clients also kind of knew me as a person and have kind of followed along with my journey over the years. So I think when they kind of know the work you've done, and now
Mm,
they see you're doing something and offering it for sale, I think there's that level of like loyalty to the Holy Ever After brand where
mm,
people kind of know what you stand for, and so they
yeah.
know what you the work you put into it and like your craft. And by the grace of God, I think that has also really helped. Social media has really helped in that sense that I don't have like an online life and I don't have like an at home life. Like I just who I am online is who I am at home. Like elaborate
Yeah.
cooking, making things from scratch. It's always been me. And I think you can't fake things from 2013. We're in 2024 now. So I think people just bought into the vision that like I'm not living a fake life.
Yeah.
And so that kind of also helped me with regards to the trust that they kind of built in me and my craft and what I do. So yeah.
That's good. So I know earlier on in our conversation, you mentioned how you started working, you had to take care of yourself in Boston, and so you were very budget conscious. So, how do you manage to stay on budget in this kind of an economy? And what type of system do you implement to ensure that you're not overspending on groceries?
So it's so funny you ask this question because like even back then I thought life was hard, and it was hard because I wasn't really
Yeah.
working, especially back in school. I wasn't working a lucrative job. It was just an on-campus job. I think they would pay us $300 every 2 weeks
Okay.
minus tax. And so my roommates always used to make fun of me and call me a food hunter because we lived in Somerville. So we were like in the middle of Cambridge, which is quite expensive. And then is it Fenway where you can
Yeah.
go to the farmers market and get stuff for cheap? So I'm literally like going to maybe Assembly or Cambridge and looking at Whole Foods and seeing like, okay, what is the price of this? All right, noted. And then I would go.
Oh, wow. So you were just bouncing everywhere.
No, I had time. I literally had time. So like people's Friday nights when like our friends would go to, go out, like this was
Parties.
me. No, so like my one of my roommates had a car. So when she'll just ask me, "Oh, like, do you need me to do anything for you?" I'm just like, "Yep, just take me to a couple of supermarkets. Let me see, the best deal I can get. Either that, or I would just wake up really early on the weekend, take the train to Fenway, and then just like go to the farmers market and get a good deal from there." And that was then. I think that kind of built a little bit of discipline in me as to how to
Mm.
go about meal planning. Um, because I'm not good with cooking in bulk. I
Oh,
It's my toxic trait. I'm literally a fresh food kind of girl.
wow. I feel
So,
like I
yeah.
grew up the opposite. Like I always made too much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's just like, even to date, like, even now we have so much on our plate. My husband will be like, why don't you just make stews and put them in the freezer? I'm just like, no, I can't. I'll just make it fresh whenever we have to eat it. So
Wow.
I think for me, because of that and
Mm,
the fact that I like fresh meals, I literally plan in layers. And so I start from the protein.
mhm,
So the protein, because we have to get high quality protein. All right. So we can do maybe like a salad and roast potatoes. Or we can do like sweet potatoes and then peas for the kids. Or we can do rice with some turmeric in there with peas. And so I always work my way down. So I will do the protein, the vegetable, and then I now think through what carb will be a good complement. So yeah, we will do like maybe sardines today. Okay, then we'll boil yam with garden egg stew or like with contomere. If it's fish, okay, maybe if we want to go a local route, maybe we'll do banku because there's fish, or maybe I'll do like a fish curry. So I always work it down from the protein because I always also think if you want high quality proteins, they're not necessarily cheap. They're
mhm.
expensive. So you have to cook wisely
Yeah.
to be able to get your money's worth. And if, for example, I should make a whole chicken roast with potatoes, there's the chance that I can get leftover chicken to
Mm,
use it for like rice the next day. So that's just the way I work it on budget. Now, another thing is for me, if you find me cooking in bulk, that will be DIY and stuff. So like I'm making um peanut butter. I'll just buy a lot and
mm,
just roast all the peanuts and just make maybe like 3 jars. Or if I'm making tomato sauce, I will just buy a lot and then like do it. I cook tomato sauce by reduction. So do that and then store some in the freezer and store some in the fridge. So that's the kind of bulk cooking that works for me. But like making the actual food is
okay,
difficult.
understood.
I have to train myself to do it. So yes, so that's just the way rather than go and get like organic tomato sauce, which of course in Ghana is times two what you guys are paying in the States.
Mm,
I just rather make it myself.
yeah,
And then I have enough to last us for at least a month. Then we can think about it again. So that's
okay.
just the way I buy like maybe chicken in bulk and then keep them in the freezer so I can work my way around it. And so, in terms of staying on budget, those are some of the things that I do, things that I know that I would spend because I'm looking for the ones with real ingredients and no added sugars and no refined oils. I would make myself
Mm,
to save me money. So, and I think over time, the only way to stay consistent is to be consistent. And so I've just always just made up my mind that if this is the life that I have committed to, I just have to do it.
mm,
And so it sounds overwhelming when I say it sometimes, but also I've been doing this for years. So now it's
yeah.
easy for me. Yeah, and I think over time I've also noticed that I've saved a lot of money because the more the children come in, it's not so easy piling up on jars of organic tomato sauce
Yeah.
or like organic chicken or something like that. So I just learn where I can chip in and do myself and where there's a need to buy, I buy. Yeah, so I'm very strict on those kind of things because that's how it helps us save money.
Mm.
And then we go from there.
Can you explain a little bit of how someone would be able to identify a high quality meat?
Okay, so for here in Ghana, because this is where I live now, it's easy, kind of, because well, there are groups that you can join, there are people that you can ask. So let me start from like the different levels. So obviously, if you walk into a cold store, that's frozen imported meat. You're not going to get fresh chicken from there. So for us, that's currently out of our choices.
Oh,
Except, I don't know, maybe like again, it's not an absolute no because life sometimes you're stuck somewhere, there are no options. I'm not going to fast because of that, but I'm just talking in terms of like priority in choosing foods for us. And so some of the shops, when you speak with like the butcher on ground, especially the Lebanese owned shops here in Ghana, you ask them, oh, like, where do you get your chicken from? Is it fresh? Is it frozen? They'll tell you. Some of them will tell you that today's own is frozen, to last week's own was fresh, and so on and so forth. And so then I ask them, well, where did you get it from? And just to confirm that I'm buying fresh meats, because that's my money. And so they kind of let you know. And so that's even in shops. That's how I narrowed my search down to one particular place to get meat from, because I kind of spoke with them to find out who their source is. And so that's how we do now. Outside of now the shops, they are like, we don't have many farmers markets, but we have like individual group, not individual, like small groups where you can find out, like they'll put their information on there, like I have a farm and I raise chickens in case you're looking for some. So in that case, you have to buy in bulk and then they deliver at once, because sometimes they are not in the city. So it gets expensive having to just order as and when you need it. So that's how we in our home track like quality meat. Thankfully, because of these group chats, I have access to asking people who make like homemade sausages with like real meat, people who sell fish from like small farmers. And so we just have these small like co-op like arrangement so that we are close to the source as possible, which is important for me. And I do remember when I lived in Boston, I would go to the farmers markets and just kind of like ask them little questions, how they feed their chickens, just so I know who to stick with. And I just ended up sticking with that. So either I did that or I would do a co-op before I would even do like the whole food. So because they're relatively much cheaper also, with eggs and stuff like that. So that's how I basically figure out in terms of quality of meat, how I assess meat as high quality versus mainstream.
Just quickly for anyone who is wondering, what or how should animals be treated to be considered a high quality meat?
So, so
Or like, what
let
should
me
they be
see.
fed? Because you also
Yeah.
mentioned that.
So the reason why I refer to them as high quality meat is because we all fully know that some of these meats they are imported from God knows where, sometimes probably even China. Um, and naturally, as with human beings, when people are raised in mass production, sort of, they are susceptible to infections. They're injected with hormones because basically they're just looking for the growth. So it's like get
Right.
fat so we can kill you and sell you. And even some small farmers do that, because I speak with like the Northerners and ask them like, you own a cow, like how do you feed them? And sometimes they'll just tell you the truth, like, yeah, just pump hormones into them so they can grow fat. So I, because the fat is what people are looking for them to also make their money. And although antibiotics is, you cannot live without it, especially if you live on God's planet Earth because of infections. Sometimes when these animals are left to like be free range or like, eat pasture, they are less likely to get infections as compared to like crammed chicken in a coop, like thousand of them on like maybe like a 2 square meter area or something like that, because they're just rubbing off of each other. It's easy for them to get infections, and so they're easier. Like they just get more antibiotics, which obviously depletes their, just like human beings, it depletes their guts, which kind of affects the quality of the meat also. So essentially, we cannot do it all, but at least if you have knowledge of what you're getting, it kind of helps as opposed to me just buying like a frozen box that I don't even know where it's
Where?
from. Yes. So that's why I like the smaller scale businesses, because they have lesser animals to take care of. And so they are more likely to produce high quality meat than quote unquote commercial products. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I honestly
You're
learned a
welcome.
lot. Um, because even here in America, you see so many different labels on the chicken in the stores. And so sometimes
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, so what do I choose? Which one is actually the right one?
yeah,
So I think that'll
yeah.
help a lot of people.
Yeah, just to chip in, because I do remember that a couple of people actually had sent me an article about Kerrygold, which is a brand I love so much, not being 100% grass fed. And I think I just went ahead. I told them, I was like, listen, I used to work part time in a farmer's market when I lived in Boston. And so I know these things. And that's just a brand being realistic. Now,
Mm,
um, it's of course the cows are said to be grazing on pasture, but also it's not an all year round thing, especially in Ireland where it's not sunny every day. They're not
yeah.
going to leave animals to be in snow. So it's just like raising chickens. Like there's no brand that's telling you pasture raised that it's not 100% true that all year round they are fed pasture. They
Mm,
definitely have to supplement their food with some grains. But what they're just trying to tell you is that it's predominantly, or we
mm,
prioritize them grazing or them being free range, like walking around, as opposed to main commercial farmers who just keep them
in one
crammed
place.
together and feed them. Yes. So I think it's important that we know the reality of these things so that you don't always be like, I'm boycotting this brand because I found out so and so and so, because you can have 100% grass fed, and because grass doesn't grow all year round.
Yeah.
So in those times they have to supplement with feed, and that's what we all have to know. So once you know that, I think the more you know, the more peace of mind you have that
Mm,
you're not getting it 100% absolute, because it's just life. We have seasons in life.
yeah.
So that's why I'm saying you always have to just work your way from what's important to me and then bring it down from there. Even in terms of buying processed foods, on days when we have to, I just read the ingredients and figure out, because ingredients for manufactured foods are always listed. What's like the
Yeah,
majority
predominantly.
percentage always comes first.
Hmm.
So I just read it that way and see, like, if sugar is the last ingredient and I'm pressed and I'm looking for an option for my children, I'll get that over the same item, different brand that has sugar as the first ingredient. And it's still a cleaner option if that's what your focus is. And so I just want us to bear this in mind, even as we're making healthier swaps, that it's not always going to be perfect. But I feel like even as Christian mothers and women, God knows your desire to just do the best for your family. And so, even what you're not aware of, He's going to sanctify it because He knows your desire. It's like God knows that I want to please Him in this area of my life. He'll open doors for me to be able to afford. But if I'm found in a place where I don't have a choice, He'll lead me to always the better option. And I think that once we know that, we kind of ease up the pressure on ourselves, because I also never want to make people think, oh, I make freshly squeezed juice for my kids. So if they wanted juice or I needed something refreshing for them and I couldn't make it myself, it's like everything else is the demon. No. Yes, sometimes they can drink water and eat fruits. but but if that was the only option that we had, it's my job to be responsible in looking at the ingredients and choosing the lesser evil, quote unquote, and
Yeah,
then going for that with them. And I think that that should give us some peace of mind.
absolutely. So we're gonna switch topics just a little bit, but in terms of portion sizes, nutritionists often say your protein should be the size of your fist, and maybe you should eat a cup of rice. And we know we don't stick to that cup of rice. But when we're focusing on healthy choices, should portion control be at the forefront of our minds? And what do you think is appropriate? How should we kind of navigate sizing our food?
When it comes to portion control, sincerely, sis, I'm just going to say that sustainability trumps everything.
Mm,
So, for example, if you are not able to sustain the life you're starting now, don't do it. But at the same time, you do have to realize that sometimes in a bid to become healthy, you have to rid yourself of what you're used to.
mm,
So like you're saying, sometimes we never do the one cup of rice. But what I want, I always want to work is, especially now as a nutritional therapist, from your mindset. And so they say start with the protein, because protein is likely to keep you fuller.
okay.
And then there's the healthy fats, and then there's the vegetables for fiber. All of these things play a role in keeping you full. Now, in our side, especially third world countries, because of the economic gap, it's easy for you to eat more rice
Hmm.
because it will keep you full, especially because meat is more expensive. But
Right.
if you're able to, I would do more protein and
Okay.
then cut back on the carbs. Now, I don't like to preach portion control, but also mind you, you're speaking with someone who went cold turkey, who quit eating meat cold turkey as my only option to start a healthy life.
Mm,
So sometimes if you have to do the strict route to help you get on the path, by all means, do it. But at the same time, if it's not sustainable for you, then you have to work your way towards um, a food freedom where you know what's good for you and you make it a point to commit to that and do it. So for me, I always tell people, especially people who are trying to lose weight, yes, start with protein, followed by your vegetables and healthy fats, then your carbs. Why? Because especially we African people, Ghanaians, we've been taught to do eat more rice. It's like the rice is the predominant food in the on the table, so dish a
yeah.
lot more of it. And so we have to wean ourselves from that because that's where the starches are, which is causing our pot bellies, which is weighing us down as opposed to fiber, which helps you with energy metabolism, and protein, which helps you with, keeping full and staying more satiated. So once you begin to understand why they're telling you that, then
Mm,
nobody has to keep a track on you and say, 5 grams of rice, 20 grams of protein, yada, yada,
mm,
yada. But it's just that you know what that aspect of the food group is doing for you, especially your goal to be healthy, your goal to be more energized, your goal to be able to have not have constipation, to be able to digest food properly. And so once you understand the science behind it, it's easy to choose. However, in our case, they just tell you do it this way, this way, this way. And so halfway down the line, they're just like, forget it. Let me just eat my rice.
yeah.
you know? So yeah, I just always like to kind of teach people that way. And once you get it like that, it kind of also empowers you to make the right choices for yourself.
Yeah, it's very clear that the education piece is really what makes the difference
Yeah.
because you do have the people who count their calories. You have the people who track their carbs. And
Yep.
so, as you mentioned, there are so many different systems, so many different diets that it's just not sustainable. And
Yes.
so everyone ends up falling off. It's like at the beginning of the year, everyone starts a diet, and then within the first 2 weeks, it's done. The gyms are empty. It's like a whole
Exactly.
thing. So I think it's important that
Exactly.
you mentioned that protein helps to keep you full and fiber and all of that. And so,
Yeah.
with that said, some of the staples in the American pantry are, cereals, beans, rice, potatoes, pasta. You mentioned tomato sauce earlier, or pasta sauce, canned veggies and fruit, sardines, baked beans, tuna, canned chicken, lots of bread, peanut butter, and then loads of snacks like the chips, the bars, all sorts of stuff. In what ways can we remain nourished but also modify what we keep in our houses?
Yeah. I think it starts first with make sure you're not deceived by the label. Always read your labels. Always read your labels. I always say, like, if you even like mac and cheese, it's not the food mac and cheese that's the problem. It's you buying Kraft's mac and cheese because that sachet with the cheese in there is just full of chemicals. So then why don't you just buy the pasta and then put together your own cheese sauce and mix it? And you could make a nutrient dense food out of that because cheese in itself is not bad. Um, but just because of the way ultra processed foods have hit the market, we're vilifying certain foods and making it look as though that is the problem, which is not necessarily the case. I always say, I do eat cereal, but in my home, we just get like cornflakes, like the plain cornflakes, because that's just the maize. And I'm not going to do the cinnamon toast crunch or I forget the names because I don't
Frosted
even buy them
Flakes,
anymore. But I remember
Fruit
cinnamon toast crunch
Loops.
because, yeah, Fruit Loops, because cinnamon toast crunch was a favorite growing up. So
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, I remember that, and corn pops. I think that's what it's called, the yellow one, right?
Is it the round one or oh no, I know what
Yes,
you're
yes,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So I remember those two because I was so crazy about it. But now I think you have to find your smart balance where if you want these convenient foods, either you're choosing the plainest of them all or you're getting the cleanest brands. Today in America, they have more clean options for cereal. But if I walked into a store and I was really looking for cereal to eat, I'll just get like plain old Kellogg's, just the golden brown cornflakes and just eat it and just satisfy that want and just leave it at that. So even like you're saying with the standard American diets, you can work your way around it. You know, baked beans, read the label. If you're going to do it, just make sure you read the label because most of these things, the first ingredient in there is sugar in a different name, but they all mean sugar.
Yeah.
And so people are wondering why are we constantly sick with these huge and strange names of sicknesses? It's because of these mainstream foods that are found in the standard American diet is fully sugar and chemicals more than the actual food you're eating. And so
Right.
by the time I'm able to process beans, which is a good and nutrient dense food, I've not just eaten beans, I've eaten too much sugar. And
Too
that's just
much.
side and
Yeah.
that's just the side of my lunch. So now, mind you, for example, if you had like pizza with fried chicken and baked beans, by the time you realize you've compounded so much, you know, trans fats, sugar, chemicals, dyes, and we know what all of these things are doing to our kids, to our hormones as women, to our
Yeah.
reproductive health, and all of those things. And so for me, again, it's the education and working your way back to am I eating baked beans for the beans? And if I am, then I need to check the ingredient label to find out what are they putting because all I'm looking for is baked beans.
Right.
All they are making in that can or the tin is not just baked beans.
Yeah.
So you have to the staples that you mentioned you can still keep them in your home but just be smart about it because yeah we all need pasta every once in a while and we can't all make pasta from scratch but just
Right.
keep it simple so you make your own tomato sauce and add it to the pasta because you're not eating pasta every day it's probably once a week or twice a week you're fine and I always say this the home cooked meal versus the restaurant meal, it's two different foods
Yeah.
altogether. So, me eating a burger at home with clean ingredients versus me buying store bought or restaurant burger, same meal, two different nutrients I'm getting from all of those things. So,
Yeah.
that's again, for me, I always want to come from the education point of view where you have to understand that if this is what you want to eat, are you ready to get a cleanup version of it? Are you ready to do it yourself? Are you ready to work around it knowing that this is what I'm getting? So, do I add more vegetables instead of another? Like, if I'm eating canned beans, canned peas, canned chicken breast, by the time you realize you've eaten another 50 grams of added sugar before anything
Right.
else that you're getting from the
And
diet.
salts
So,
too.
and salts and sodium, exactly, because it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too much. I would rather do frozen than canned. I always say if you're
Yeah.
looking and fresh vegetables are not in your budget, frozen is really budget friendly. Most of the foods frozen are even fresh
Yeah.
and just more nutrient dense because the nutrients are preserved before they are flash frozen,
Right.
even more than what we're getting from the shops sometimes, especially
Mm.
if it's commercially and not organic. So do frozen to save on money, but never tinned.
Okay.
Never tamed. Sardines are great. Sardines are one of like the healthiest fish that I feel like we undermine so much. So just get the
Mm.
sardines. If you can't get in water and the oil is cheaper and it fits your budget, just drain the oil
Mm-hmm.
because they're probably gone rancid by the time sometimes,
Yeah.
So, you can find ways of working the system,
Mm.
just so you make sure that if that's what you can afford, you're still working around it to make sure that it's serving your body right.
Okay. Awesome. So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on the margarine versus butter debate?
This question makes me laugh because when we were young and my mom would travel, she would bring this thing called I can't believe it's not butter. And we used
Mm-hmm.
to down that thing. Like it wasn't until I grew that I realized, oh my goodness,
It's
this
not.
is just margarine and trans fats. We're just consuming like can you imagine? So for a long time, margarine was made with hydrogenated fats, which is obviously just death in a tub. But I do know that lately they're saying that um, margarines are made with like olive oil and cleaner oils, and so again, it's not something you're eating every day with every meal. Probably butter and margarine will be part of your breakfast, or maybe like your an addition to your pasta or something like that. And that's if and only if you know that you're buying a cleaner brand of margarine. I don't have an issue with it, although it's not something we use in my house. I'm a butter girl. um but for those who prefer the margarine over the butter, I would just say make sure that you're buying. I haven't seen any of these brands, but I did read that now, especially with the whole trans fat and its relation to cardiovascular diseases, they're making some with cleaner oils. And so if you get that, buy it. If not, I would stick with butter. Again, I would stick with butter, but also not just eat chunks of butter because it's good, healthy fat. Because obviously, saturated fat also piles up and kind of can harm you. So you just make sure that you're doing your research and picking the right, um, the right product. Even because for butter, some of them is just caked vegetable oil. It's not the fats from milk. So again, you may think you're buying butter, but then you may be better off with margarine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely, for me, I would say again, it comes down to doing your research and work your way from there. But also just make sure it's not something you're eating too much of, because that could affect you, whether it's butter or margarine. Yeah.
Okay. So earlier on, you spoke about how you would make like peanut butter in bulk or your tomato sauce. So, what would you say are some kitchen products that people can potentially invest in that would help make this process a bit easier for them?
Definitely a food processor. That's something that would literally, I think that's something that, apart from the counter space that it takes too much of, it just helps you so much. I think that is a good investment. A high quality blender is a good investment because I know my mom has a Vitamix and it's just great. I literally make nut butter with her Vitamix. I don't even need a food processor if I'm over there and I'm making food. So if you can afford both a blender and a food processor, I would say maybe invest in one high speed, high powered blender and just use that. Um, a mixer is also something that is always going to come in handy. I mean, my stick blender and my mixer, they've seen, like, they've literally traveled with me from 2015, still using them in great condition. I just bought a good one and it's just still alive. That for sure. um, what else can I think of? I think for me, I have a vacuum sealer because, yeah, I think it just helps when you're prepping proteins in small batches. So I just pick from the fridge and I just know that I'm making this. It kind of helps me to be able to not have to thaw the whole thing and then just cut a piece of it and then just put it there. Yeah, so it's not necessary, but if you're like me who likes to prep little things like season the chicken and then keep it in there, I think it'll come in handy. Yeah, I think apart from that, you should be fine in terms of kitchen gadgets. You don't need a waffle maker if you don't make too much waffles. But in terms of utensils, I would always say stick with cast iron and stainless steel, and
Okay.
little to absolutely no non-stick. That's me. Because non-stick was birthed out of convenience. Now, if you
Absolutely.
cook with non-stick on high heat, you're literally emitting the toxins and the gas because non-stick is meant to be used on low to very medium heat. So if you're one of those
Really?
African who's in a hurry to cook quick for your children, just I think it's better you stay with stainless steel. For me, that's something I've
Wow.
really invested in. Stainless steel and cast iron are my kitchen investment in addition to gadgets. I I think I have one, what was it called? Our place non-stick pan. It's just one. But apart from that, I always stick with stainless steel or cast iron. You'd be
Wow.
amazed the research behind non-stick pots and pans and how it even affects like the female reproductive system. Again, not to incite fear, but the more you know, it
Yeah,
helps you make
education
informed.
is good.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, I didn't know
yeah.
that actually.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure nobody uses their nonstick on low heat.
See, that's
That's
exactly what I said. So when I did the research, I was like, it's like I don't think anybody uses their non-stick on low heat. So why
no.
are they not adding that to the selling point? So I know what I'm getting into before I get into it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so good to
yeah.
know that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm
You're
sure you
welcome.
just freed a lot of people with that one statement because
No, they're
I
more
know
dangerous than the convenience.
if I'm cooking anything, it's at least on 5, like medium high. So, yeah, that's
Yep,
wow.
yep. Until you have all the time in the world, I don't know who's cooking with low heat on non-stick. So
Um,
for me, it wasn't just yeah, it wasn't worth it. It was and nice. You see, like it's just all of these little things that are making us sick over the years because people don't know.
yeah.
Like the non-stick is peeling off. We're just scraping it. We're
Yeah.
cooking with it, and it's like these are all the things we're putting into our system in the system of our
Mm,
children. And again, they can't find what's really wrong with us, but these are the things,
yeah.
because we're buying convenience, but there's a higher price to pay for that convenience of them just telling us, oh, you flip the pancake and it doesn't stick. But what's making it not stick?
Yeah.
And if it's not going to stick, why is that when it's exposed to heat, it sticks now? And it's just all of those things you have to ask questions and work your way back.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So I've realized in my own journey that, again, reading the label is just so important. And it even comes down to our seasonings. I remember telling you, I was doing a Daniel fast at a point, and the person who was leading us made it a point to let us know that sugar is added to a lot of seasonings. And so, because you're not supposed to have sugar on a Daniel fast, make sure you read the ingredients and don't purchase the ones that have sugar inside of them. So, I think people will probably wonder, how do you make food taste good without the sugar? So, what would
Yep.
you say are your go-to seasonings to have in your pantry?
Oh, that's a good one. Black pepper. I have turmeric. I have garlic ginger. Garlic ginger can turn any meal upside down. I know that for sure. I know that for sure. Garlic are always a staple in my home because if I don't have anything at all, I know those two things can literally make me like an Asian chef, in a minute. So that's for sure, definitely that. We do some thyme also, and black pepper. We have so my mom has this seasoning that she combines all of these things: bay leaf, thyme, black pepper, garlic, ginger, turmeric, coriander. And then we just blend everything, and it's just so fragrant and just so good.
Wow.
And she doesn't add salt, so you add salt per your taste. And I think over the years, that's all I've used. I've never,
Oh.
apart from garam masala that I buy for like Indian curries and stuff, I don't think I've ever bought any other seasoning. And it's just, once you use these original spices, I think you figure out over time how to create your own, how do I concoction that
Hmm.
works for what goes on. I literally, if I'm grilling fish, it's just lemon, garlic, black pepper, salt.
Yeah,
But
that's really
once you
good for fish.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that we were not raised, especially us Ghanaians, like with the Maggi and the Onga, we are not raised to just understand what it means to keep it simple and then work your way from there. And so you just know, once you keep it simple, you know what's missing and you know what to add. And
Yeah.
then you just customize your own thing. So I think for me, I always have, thanks to my mom who also loves cooking, we've always done that from scratch. And so I've always stuck with these ones that I know that work, and then that's just how we've done it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you say? I know here or even everywhere, people tend to use like the chicken bouillon cubes for more
hmm
flavor. What would you say is an alternative to that?
So I haven't bought this in a while, but I there's a cleaner brand to the bouillon cubes. I have to find it for you. Maybe I
Okay.
will. Um, yeah, because I know that there was this lady that I followed who had the same issue. That what was I can't remember the name, but I know that once I like Google it, I'll find it. So there's
Okay.
again, there's a cleaner option now, thanks to people who know better and are helping us do better, so that you can let go of that mainstream brand and just choose a cleaner one. Because for that, I feel like you can't replicate. Well, you can maybe someone out there is doing it, but
Mhm.
if there's a cleaner brand that I know that I used to use back then, so I'll
Mhm.
get it and send it to you. So at least we can share that as well.
All right. So, um, I know I mentioned at the beginning of the year, everyone starts this new trend of wanting to lose weight and all of that stuff. How do we make such a healthy lifestyle more sustainable?
I think consistency. I always, whenever I'm talking to people, I always refer to this article that I read about The Biggest Loser,
Mm.
where they said that 6 months after they got off The Biggest Loser show, they most of them gained back the weight and even more.
Yeah,
Because I think that it's not a sustainable show, and I don't even think it runs anymore. Just
I
telling
haven't
people what
heard
to take.
about it.
Right. What to take out of their fridge, and then you just let them eat for it, and you don't teach them how to actually take care of their bodies. Of course, they're going to go back to their old habits, and old
Right.
habits, as we know, die hard.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's why I always say I'm not ever going to be the one to write a diet plan for anyone. It helps to know, because once you know better, you do better. So initially, we started talking about it helps know why are they even saying, eat protein the size of your fist and then less carbs and that. So once you know, now you're not just doing it because somebody told me to. Now you're understanding how that can help your body. Now, mind you, if you eat too much, your stomach expands.
Right.
So it's going to take a while where your brain keeps telling you, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. But when I was on the whole 30 diet, there's one thing that the lady always says that if your brain tells you you're hungry, but you don't feel like eating a broccoli, you should be fine. That means
Mm.
you can really handle the hunger. So I think it's just like sometimes also these processed foods that we eat, they have chemicals in them which make us want more of
More.
it. That's why someone can literally eat a whole container of Pringles because it's just um I don't know, my brain just space that I forget the name of the chemical, but basically it's something that just keeps you wanting more. So if you
Mm.
go on a clean diet, you have to remember that it's going to be a battle, like people in rehab,
Yeah.
where like you want to feel as though I have to eat something more, but you can really, you can really sustain it. And so just like start small. So for me, I always tell people one, if you don't buy it, you don't eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Two, maybe cut out one thing at a time. So if it's bread that you like, maybe for 321 days, don't buy bread or don't buy pastries from your favorite bakery and just make do with what you have. Now you've mastered the art of doing without bread. Okay, now let's move to maybe reducing the size of rice and doing more vegetables. You chew more, and so
Mm.
it kind of that's the whole point that you're chewing more and taking your time to chew and swallow is going to keep you full. That's even part of gut health,
Mm.
because we're also eating in a rush. We're just on our phone scrolling,
Yeah.
spoon by spoon swallowing. And so obviously the food is just going straight down. Whereas even like the saliva, masticating the enzymes over there, they start digestion and help you to break the food down and go down into your body. So it's all of these things. So just pick one thing,
Mm.
eliminate it. One thing you know it's not good for you, but you can't stop eating, and just make the hardcore decisions, just take it out. And also, if you don't buy it, you don't see it, you don't eat it. And
Absolutely.
then, work your way away from it. And then do more of what you know is good for you, but you didn't used to do more of.
Okay.
So if it's eating more vegetables, find creative ways. Steam it, air fry it, make it crispy. I don't know, chop it into your food. Any way that you feel like you can help yourself. But I found that these two things are the things that have helped most people um, stick to a sustainable diet. I don't like to use diet plan, but diet plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, of all that you said, what is the last piece of advice you would want to give someone who is trying to transform the way that they eat in their lifestyle?
I think number one, I can tell you that you can do it. Number two, don't jump on trends because you're going to get frustrated. And all juice diets, intermittent fasting, keto. I always say like keto was a last ditch effort that they used to help patients, epileptic patients, and then people caught on to it and now made it a thing. You cannot be on a keto diet for the rest of your life. So just make sure you don't jump into trends. Start small. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So start small, work your way up slowly, and build your capacity. And then, you can run the race. Literally, that's the name of the conference. You can run the race just one foot in front of the other. And in food, that means like making cleaner swaps, taking out certain foods from your diet, like telling your body you can do this, chewing your food, drinking more water instead of your favorite soda, just one foot in front of the other, and you can keep going.
Hi, I'm back, and guess what time it is? It's giveaway time. So today we have a couple of people who are winning, and of the winning lot, we have some books. This book is called Dwell, and it's a study guide for expanded scripture memory. We have a book called Meditations for Seasons of Waiting, because throughout this conference we've learned that what you are praying for may not come the way that you want. So while you're waiting, you need to be in a season, an expectant season, and you need to be able to look at the good things and the way God is providing. And so we have to have a positive attitude while we're doing that, right? So this book is going to help us get there. And then we have a book of meditations on God's character, because who is God? Do you trust that God is good? Well, you need to believe that. And so meditating on God's character is going to help you know that God is who he says he is, even while you're going through your trial. And so today we actually have two people who are winning. And those two people are Alima and Setor Warg. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. So Alima and Setor Warg, please email hello@theproverbs31project.org so that we can collect your information and send you your gifts. Congratulations, and see you on the next session tonight. You don't want to miss out.
My advice to anyone who's trying to get their health back on track and lose the weight would be do what you can with what you're able. Do what you can with what you're able. All of our lives are not going to look the same. For some of us, yeah, we can quit everything we're doing cold turkey and start life anew. It's not the same story for everyone. And so start small. It could be one staple pantry item that you have knowledge of the fact that it's not good for you. Just stop buying it. If you want to maybe transition from plastics to stainless steel glass, I would say don't throw all your plastics away at once. If it's your storage containers, maybe do away with that and then buy glass, and then slowly you start replacing your utensils. Slowly you start replacing your spoons. Slowly you start replacing your Tupperware, and then we go from there. You don't have to please anyone but God Almighty, and he knows your heart and he sees your heart. And I always say this, that your 10% that you do with better knowledge is much better than the 0% that you do with no knowledge at all. And so if I know that an oil is not good for me and maybe I'm working my way, I can afford avocado oil, but maybe I can do sunflower oil for now. Do that and work your way up. It's better than continuing with canola oil when you know it's not good for you. So that's what I mean when I say do what you can with what you're able. Sardo. So I feel like in the health and wellness space, some things just gain traction and then they disappear, especially with Americans. No shade. But for some of us who just have come to realize that life especially in the health and wellness space and all the craze about it is because people are just realizing that going into the primal way of eating is actually more sustainable. And that's why our great grandfathers lived so long. And so that's one of the reasons why fermented foods are all the rage right now. So sourdough bread is literally just flour, water, sometimes salt. Of course, with modernization has come the fact that we have sourdough brioche now. We have sourdough, nut breads, seed breads, fruit breads, and all of that. But essentially, sourdough's basics are just flour, salt, and water. And I think it's all the rage because people are realizing once they're reading ingredients, that the loaf you're buying from, say, Costco with the 1 billion ingredients, and someone just being able to make simple bread with these 3 ingredients. With brioche, we're going to add sugar and butter, simple ingredients, and it's giving you the same thing. Makes you wonder that is it really bread that's the problem, or is it mass baked bread that's the problem? And so I think that it's not necessarily well, I shouldn't even say that. It is sourdough that's all the rage, but that's because people are realizing how much better they're doing with simple ingredients and realizing that it's not bread that's killing us. It's the ingredients that's used to make commercially produced or baked bread that's killing us. And so slowly, while people are trying to understand what ingredients are and are trying to eat simpler, they realize they're feeling better. So many European countries, they just eat really simply, and that's why Asian countries eat really simply. And so we are realizing that it's not the rice that's killing us, it's not the bread that's killing us, it's the ingredients that we're noticing that they use to make these commercially produced products that's hurting us. So definitely I am an advocate for sourdough any day, anytime, because it has simpler ingredients. And once you taste the bread, you realize this is just flour and water and salt and butter and sugar that's giving me this. And you realize you feel so much better. You don't bloat. Obviously, that's the essential part of fermented foods. It's good for your gut as well. So yeah, that's it with sourdough bread and all fermented foods that are gaining traction lately. Juicing. So this is a special topic to me because as a nutritional therapist, I would never recommend anyone to go on a juice diet. But that being said, I always talk from a sustainable point of view. However, if this is a short-term goal for a long-term benefit, absolutely. So, for example, people go into detox diets where they just juice to cleanse their system, and usually it's between 3 to 7 days. I wouldn't recommend anything past 7 days. That's your max. For me, I feel like your max should be 3 to 5 days, but it's not something that I would say go on for 2 weeks because it's just not sustainable. You're ridding yourself of specific macronutrients that your body also needs to thrive. And so again, it's a very short-term goal for a long-term benefit, just to cleanse your system and then start afresh if that's what you're doing. But I don't recommend anybody living off of juice for more than, I don't even say more than 5 days, but if you're pushing it to the limit, 7 days. Now, for example, with cold pressed juice, it basically means that you are not putting the juice through any heat process, which kind of denatures the natural bacteria and also some of the nutrients in there. Now, obviously, lately we have masticating, we have slow juicing. Some juices take away the fiber, so you're just gulping down the sugars in the fruits, which is not filling, and so you find yourself hungry within the next hour or 30 minutes. And so for that reason, that's why people choose slow juicing, because it adds the fiber and it keeps you fuller for a long period of time. So again, I feel like adjust your goals, see what works for you. But I don't recommend anyone going juicing past 5 days. I want to hammer on that more than the method of juicing. So I hope that helps.
Wow, wasn't that an amazing session? Let's give the speaker a round of applause. Let's put some emojis in the chat. Wow, I was immensely blessed by what was shared. What about you? Please feel free to share feedback about the session and the conference using the link on your screen. I want to say a huge thank you for all of you for your presence and your participation. Just so you don't forget, please take a moment to explore the event dashboard for all pertinent links, resources, and access to our virtual photo booth. Also, don't forget to purchase a donation item for the beautiful women at Abby's house. God bless you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next session. You don't want to miss it. Bye.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Clap, clap. This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and I'll be glad. I'm pressing on to higher things, to my heritage in Christ, to my heritage in Christ. I'm a run, hey! I'm a run, running with Jesus. I'm a run, running with Jesus. I'm a run, running with Jesus. Nothing can stop my praise. Nothing can stop my praise. I have this.
My confidence in Christ.
I walk in perfect